headed off on a little trip to the homes that June and I have been fortunate enough to have in our lifetime and appreciate and love. But home is where your heart is and where it is at the time. Rest in the Lord. Oh, the sun shines bright on my old Kentucky home. 'Tis summer, the children at play. The corn tops ripe and the meadows are in bloom, and the birds make music all the day. Oh, the children roll on the little cabin floor, all merry, all happy and bright. By and by, hard times comes a knocking at the door, then my old Kentucky home says good night. Weep no more, my ladies, oh, weep no more today. We will sing one song for my old Kentucky home, for my old Kentucky home far away. Weep no more, my ladies, oh, weep no more today. We will sing one song for my old Kentucky home, for my old Kentucky home far away. God bless you, Kentucky, and God bless America, and God bless the world, and let us all have revival, to return to godly principles and the Bible and our Constitution and Jesus. God bless you. Let's head out on the road now and see some of those homes, starting here at the old courthouse, Independence, Kentucky. Here at Independence Courthouse. They're doing a beautiful job of rehabbing it, and built a beautiful facility down in Covington, Kentucky, on Simon Kenton Way. We'll drive down now to buy the little house that we live in, where our heart is, here on 38 McCollum Road, or Pike, whichever one you want to call it. .38 McCullum Pike, Independence, Kentucky here. Our wonderful neighbors on both sides and all around. Got a new senior center going in down here. Looks like it's going to be very nice, where folks can call 859-838-7326 to see about living there. It's a nice place, though. Crossgate Drive, out here off McCullum Road. Right here, McCullum Road. We'll head on out ways first to pick up a couple houses that we lived in. First place we'll go here is drive by our original school, Simon Kenton High School, where we're having our 60th reunion. I want to tell everybody our 60th reunion of the class of 1961 is really an opportunity for everybody to be a part of this reunion. Because you see, Robert Roden was one of the greatest band directors in the history of all of our high schools in all of Kentucky, who lost his life in the Beverly Hills Supper Club fire. And 10 years ago, our class of 1961 started a Robert Roden Scholarship Fund at Simon Kenton High School. And wouldn't it be great if a lot of those graduates and other folks that love band directors, that knew Mr. Roden or had children with Mr. Roden, if they would take and just send in $15 and to our reunion we're having, and any money made on that reunion, or if we have to cancel it because of the virus, all of it's going to go to the Robert Roden Scholarship Fund. And that reunion is going to be held right here at La Rosa's, that you can see across the way, Pioneer Corner, in the Pioneer Room, the brand new room, Pioneer Room there at La Rosa's in Independence, October the 2nd. October the 2nd at 2 o'clock. 2 until whenever. People get a chance to come and visit and talk and be with each other and say hi and appreciate our lives to the 78th year and 60th year of our graduation. So send in your $15 to John Stephenson, 38 McCullum Pike, R Road, Independence, Kentucky, zip code 41051. As we pass the Roses there and come up to Simon Kenton and Kenton Elementary. And the school which I graduated from with all of my fellow students in 1961. And it would be great to replenish that scholarship fund, which is down to about $200. So they tell me at Simon Kenton, Jamie, the lady in charge, and it would be great if we could replenish that. So, even if you're not in our class of 1961, send us in $15. Again, that address is 38 McCullum Pike, or Road, Independence, Kentucky, 41051. And if you got questions about it, call me, John Stephenson, former Superintendent of Education for the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Call me, John Stephenson, at 859-750-0000. Or email me at smallj750-0000 @gmail.com. So you can search us out on YouTube or Facebook. Facebook under John Stephenson, and YouTube under Travels with John Stephenson. It would be a great way to make a mark for Robert Roden and for Simon Kenton, and for all the kids that receive a wonderful education from this wonderful school, in honor of all of our teachers. And some of them will hope we'll make it to our reunion. I know that Mr. J.B. Losey is going to come, and Mr. Best will be there if he's up to par, and Mr. Massey perhaps, and anyone else that's alive that was a teacher of ours. Come on, October the 2nd at 2 o'clock at La Rosa's Pioneer Room for the Simon Kenton Pioneers. And having graduated from Kenton Elementary, I'll drive on out there and we'll take a little look at that school also. But you could have been in Taylor Mill, or you could have been in one of the other schools and come to Simon Kenton. But right here in Independence, Kentucky, at La Rosa's new Pioneer Room at October the 2nd at 2 o'clock. 2 to whenever. And say hi and make a little contribution. $15. You could make a difference. Bring a smile to your face. Do something positive, and you will enjoy it. I promise you. Kenton Elementary, with Mr. Caton was our principal. And I remember so many of our wonderful teachers there. Mrs. Wagner, Mrs. Pop, Mr. Bailey, just Mrs. Rich, Mrs. Wright, Mrs. Oni O'Reilly, Miss Grover Holbrook, J.B. Losey, Mr. Massey, of course, Mr. Edmondson, our principal, and Mr. Hinsdale, Reuben Hinsdale, Mrs. Hinsdale, teachers from Kenton Elementary and Simon Kenton High School, Mr. Bowen of the Bowens, and Mr. Barnes, agriculture teacher for me for 4 years. In fact, my degree from high school was in agriculture, and I learned a lot about farming. He was a fabulous teacher, and all of our other teachers, I'm sure some of you remember more than I do, and but Mr. Vaughn, oh boy, let's see, I recommend Mrs. Cooper in the first grade. Some wonderful teachers. Of course, Mrs. Edmondson and Mr. Osbach, the coaches, Mr. Joe Reed, Don Osbach, some great coaches and great basketball teams. And it was quite a wonderful experience going to Simon Kenton High School and listening back in the 60s, that's 1961, every morning, a Bible reading over the intercom system, a prayer said over the intercom system, and a salute to the flag in all the classes. And in every class had posted the 10 Commandments on the walls. Every class in every school. And that's the way it should be today, too. Get the country back to godly principles, to decency, and to learning, education, and reading and writing, and arithmetic, and learning the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, and standing up for godly principles. That's where the country needs to go. It needs a revival. Revival in the schools, revival in the churches, and revival on the streets. And headed on out now to where I grew up with Jimmy Noakes and Eddie Smallwood, Bill Roy, the Roy family, Brenda Roy, all of them, Betty Bagwell, all of them that lived there, the Kerrs, oh, the wonderful, beautiful Carol Kerr and her family, and just all the Crosses next door, Janet and Patsy Cross, and Johnny Cross and Butch Cross, and Mrs. Cross, oh boy, wonderful people. Mr. Fightmaster across the street, where now one of our graduates lives, Bonnie and Tom Strain, lived down there where Mr. Fightmaster lived, right on Martin Road. And all the folks out here in this part of the county that we grew up with, working on all the farms around there, putting in tobacco, putting in hay, and doing the crops, corn crops, and being a part of living on a small farm. You had your own peach trees, apple trees, cherry trees, grape arbors. You had it all on the farm. The cows, the chickens, cows and milking them every morning at 5:30 and the evening at 5:30. And trying to do all that at the same time you were feeding the chickens and bringing in the corn and just planting the tobacco beds, doing everything you have to do. And then still playing sports at Simon Kenton. 3 of them I enjoyed very much. Track, running track, the 100, 220, and high hurdles, long jump, and high jump. I remember the Percival's house there so well. Atwood, Kentucky. As R.C. Durr used to say, he's from Atwood, Kentucky. One of the famous contractors and builders in the area, along with all of his corporation. And right down the street here on Moffett Road, I've walked this road many a time from school, back and forth, and hitchhiked and walked. Or I'll never forget one night hitchhiking, pouring down rain. We had a basketball game, first game of the season. I think I was a junior at that time. Now the Stephens lived right here. Judy Stephens lived right there in that house there. She was our valedictorian of our high school. The Dawkins lived up here, and they had a farm over here, and beautiful homes they built back there for the Stephens. Judy went on to heaven not too long ago. Sister Jean was just as smart. Both of them turned out to be great school teachers. Oh, it's just a wonderful life. And but anyway, I was in that first game of the season against Gallatin County, and I was a junior. We had played the sub game, the reserve game. I think I scored about 25 points in that game, and we won that. And then they threw me in the varsity game because things were getting close. And I wound up scoring 19 points. And we won the game by 2 points, 58-56, I believe it was. The first game of the season. Teammates carried me. There's where the Steelys lived, right there. Wonderful lady, Mrs. Art Steely and Mrs. Steely, great friends with my mom. And the players carried me off the floor on their shoulders. I never will forget that. Of course, unfortunately, with Mom and Dad, Mom not driving at all, and Dad working on the railroad, mostly just many hours. we didn't have parents that could come, and they didn't have the time to be able to come and see us playing sports. So they weren't there at the game, but the guys carried me off the floor on their shoulders, and I never will forget getting dressed with my clothes and slipping on out by myself, and pouring down rain, and got down to the end of the driveway there for Simon Kenton High School, and stuck my thumb out to hitchhike. And lo and behold, Mrs. Fisk, Jeff Fisk, one of the stars of basketball with Simon Kenton, his mother, picked me up and gave me a ride home. And she said, "Now, Johnny, I want you to remember something. Don't let this go to your head." And I said, "Mrs. Fisk, I'm out here standing out here hitchhiking in the rain. I don't think it's going to go to my head." But I sure do remember it. And it was quite a thrill to be in the headlines of the newspaper saying, "Sub hits 19 points and Simon Kenton wins by 58-56. John Stephenson." I tell you what, memories are great to cherish, aren't they? And all a part of that Kentucky Post that was so good about, and the Enquirer, bringing memories back for us. Passing the Jacksons now, the great farm, and really one of the most technologically advanced farms that we got to see and work on. And the first dairy, had their own dairy here, and the milkers, and the storage, refrigeration. And Frank Jackson was a superb farmer. And so I learned a lot from him, too. A wonderful Christian man. Him and his wife both were wonderful Christian people. And coming upon here, the road that I grew up on, Martin Road and Moffett Road, the corner of the two roads, the corner of the 12 little acres that Mom and Dad had bought from Walter Roden many years ago. I'm going to go to the right first, and then come back and go down to the left. That's the fence I built right there. And you'll see here on Moffett Road, this is the house. And I'm going to let this car get on by me here, if that's okay. And so I can get a good shot of this. And all the trees that I planted out here with Miss June. We planted these trees, built the fence, and all the way around the 2 acres. And as you can see, it's a beautiful home. The stone front, and it's just a lovely place. And my brother Gerald lived right down the street at 292 Moffett Road. And I'll pull in here this so you can get a little look at the place. Big driveway and a 2-car garage built in, and great place in the back. Just a nice, beautiful home. And that we left here about, I'd say it's been about 7 or 8 years ago now that we lost our home to a tremendous amount of medical expenses and bills. And so we had a full basement under this, and a great place to live and be a part of it with great neighbors. And so I'll drive on down here just a little bit to see if we can see Gerald's place. Say hello to him in the spirit. Nothing coming that way. Looks like I can make it out here. Had that 2 acres there and sold that. I think it was an acre off there. And then the ladies that lived there, bless their hearts. And here's where Gerald lived, on these 2 acres here. And his place was always looking pretty. And the folks that lived there, all friends. And now they built this other stuff here, this new house here next to it, and this great barn facility here. And my nephew Todd lives down here on Rector Road. And wonderful nephew he is. Gerald had 3 sons, Todd, and Jerry, and Greg. Jerry's in Texas, and Greg is in Texas now working, and hard telling where Greg's going to be because he's always building cell towers and repairing them all across the whole United States. That's what he does for a living. He's quite talented with all of that. And all 3 wonderful young boys. Of course, they're not young anymore. They're getting old, too, with children of their own. But that's a beautiful place there with a swimming pool for the horses, I guess. It's a horse barn, I think. But this gives you a little idea where I grew up on Moffett Road here and how it's growing. And went to the little church down at the bottom of the hill called Kenton Church, a little one-room Baptist church. We had wonderful neighbors and good people. Now here's where the Roys used to live, the Brenda Roy, and wonderful young lady, and I'm trying to think, David Roy, yes. And you see how we got this here and a little gate out to the front point. This is all fenced in here too, and you see all the trees we planted, June and I. I was going to see if that one aristocratic pear tree was still there. Does look like it's over there, yes. It's still there, beautiful. And this was always a beautiful territory here. And thrilled to live there. And down across the street over here was the Roy's place. Let me pull up over here and let these folks by. Down there is where the Frightmasters lived. And now Bonnie and Tom Strain live there. I'll move back down here and take another little look at this, the back of the place there. Let me pull up here and get out of the way here so this gentleman can get by too. Now I'm going to go down here and take a look at on the right down here. You know, all this wasn't here when I grew up. Some wonderful people lived there. I don't know if Bonnie and Tom are home or not. I'll have to try to give them a call and tell her about the class reunion. Her and Tom. There's where our house was, where this beautiful place has been built here. But we lived right here. I believe it was 6168 Martin Road. Now it's 1322 Martin Road, I think. Let's see what's on the sign there. Yeah, it's 13227 Martin Road. Well, it was 6168 Martin Road when we lived here. And of course, somebody eventually had that old house, 4-room frame house that we grew up in. No running water, no inside facilities until we were in high school. And they just shoved it over the hillside, down into the hollow. And I was quite shocked to see that one day when I came out by here. But that's life, you know, so this isn't our home. This is what replaced our home. It's a nice and beautiful place. It was a beautiful lot. The Crosses lived there in that little house, which is still there. And then later the Lees, I think, lived there. And of course the Dunns lived across the street, and the Martins lived down here. Now these are new homes in here, so I'm not sure who lives in those. And but over the way here, you can look back at where the house is that the Kerrs lived in, back over there. Times have changed, though. Clay and Mrs. Martin and the Dunns, Jean and Jane, Judy Dunn. The Lyons lived there, Stanley Lyons. There's a little barn. We used to have a basketball hooked up there, and played basketball there on the side of that barn for many, many days. And down here on the right is where Eddie Smallwood and David Smallwood grew up. Bill and Alita Smallwood. She's 96 years old, still alive, and reading the Bible through from cover to cover 50-some times. And we got her a nice award for it by the legislature and the state and the county and Kenton County and Judge Knockelman. Right across the street, here's where Jimmy Noakes grew up. Jim and Wayne Noakes, Jeffrey Noakes, and Jim and I played a lot of basketball together. And still, we were together the other night for our birthdays. Jim took Darius Beach and I out for his birthday today and my birthday yesterday. Took us out and treated us to supper at Bob Evans in Florence. And here's where and Cindy Noakes grew up here. And there's where Bill Roy down there grew up. And we used to play in that field between the two houses and hit balls off the side of the Roy's house. And the Smallwoods, we played gin rummy over there and Old Maid and other games. Bill Smallwood and Alita Smallwood, wonderful people. Alita's still alive, lives over at Elmwood Senior Center. Now they're selling her house on Madison Pike now, right there in Independence across from the City Building, where she spent the last 40-some years. But that's where Eddie Smallwood and David grew up, right there. See if I can get a little picture of it, too. And the Roys. And back up if I'm going to get a picture of Jim's. But there's the ball field right down there. And we would hit some drives that go all the way up there to the house when we were teenagers. Get back here and get a little picture of Jim's house here. Mrs. Noakes, Jim Noakes, and Mrs. Noakes, and Cindy, and Jeffrey, and Wayne, all grew up there. And Bill Roy here. And down the street just a little further was the Sims. Place there for sale right there. Down here's where the Sims lived. Of course, it's all built up now. I'll never forget J.D. Sims. He used to be in love with my sister, Mary Ruth Robinson, who later met Jackie Robinson, who was a minister over at the Church of Christ. And the minister went out over the athlete, and J.D. wound up finishing up down at UK. I was down there as a freshman with him. And Jack and Mary Ruth got married, and he graduated from UK and went on up to Princeton and earned his dissertation and his master's degree, ODK, Phi Beta Kappa, and then went off on the road with the whole family singing gospel music and country music, and traveled the whole United States making their living singing. And they're still singing down in Carrollton, the English church down there, and singing, still traveling too, doing some traveling with Mark, Sharon, and the kids. So, and they're good too. They love to play and sing. But it's grown up here, and this is what's called as Martin Hill. And believe me, when you could pump this hill, you were doing something. You were doing something. And I pumped it this hill many a day on a bicycle and walked it a many a day. And down at the bottom of the hill, I never will forget, Mrs. Hawkins and Mr. Hawkins lived. And of course you got a lot of beautiful homes back in these hills now. You can see there Rocky Acres back in there. Beautiful places. And over on this side here, you can see some beautiful places. And right there you can see the roof of the Hawkins house. Oh, what a time here coming down this hill and getting up it. And it was quite a task, I can tell you. But another driveway back off there to another big house up there. Beautiful down through here. You could see the snakes, the rabbits, and the deers. And the beautiful scenery that the houses that have been built here since then are beautiful to see. And there's a little Hawkins house still standing right there. We used to come down here and fish and swim in the creek hole, the fish swimming hole here. Back up there, another house up another driveway. But there's the Hawkins house. And she'd sit out on the back windows, some pies that she would bake, and some cookies. And us kids would come down here, and I hate to say this, although I think she knew it all the time. She'd set them out there on purpose, and we'd come by and get a few cookies and maybe a piece of pie. But we loved her. Her and Henry. Mrs. Hawkins and Henry Hawkins. And here's the little creek, and right over here there's the pond back down there. I don't know if you can see that or not, but it's back down there. And the creek going on down that way. So we'll turn around down here now and head back up, because I just noticed I'm going to be running out of gas, so I'm going to have to pick up some gas before I take off on the rest of this trip. Or I'll be hitchhiking again. But this brings you out to over here, Martin Road.